Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square with T-Square Talk. I have an absolutely awesome video for you guys today. I think it's a great video. Maybe it's because I got plenty of sleep last night. I actually went to bed fairly early. I got sleep in today, and I am rested and pumped and feeling better. Because I can tell you, in the video that I made yesterday morning, when I filmed that video, I was like so exhausted. I didn't want to break the routine, and some people in the past have been like, dude, what happened? You didn't get a video up. And so I feel horrible when I don't get a video up, and I was just exhausted. And so I got plenty of sleep yesterday. I'm pumped, ready to go with a great video for you guys. Now, what are we going to talk about today? So we're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about silver. We're going to talk about gold. We're going to talk about how people are getting cheated, and they don't even realize it. They really don't. And in order to do that, I'm going to tell you guys what's going on in my personal life with two separate stories. One, not last night, the night before. So the night that I had filmed the video where I was exhausted, I actually got hit by a DUI driver or a drunk driver. And the second story I'm going to tell you guys about is what's going on that I'm remodeling my house a little bit, the house that I'm moving into. And I think as you guys hear some of these stories, you're going to listen to them and you're going to be like, one, you're going to take and understand that prices are just going up on everything, every little thing, from sheetrock to screws to hardy board to even trim. Everything is going up. And you're also going to realize that the majority of the people don't really understand that you have to take preventative measures so you don't get stomped out by this. People don't understand what's going on, and even when you explain it to them, I don't understand how they don't understand, really. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's going to be a great video. I'm excited to do this video. I know some people are already like, what, you got hit by a drunk driver? So you know what, we'll get into that story first. So the first thing we're going to talk a little bit about is how people don't realize what's going on. So like I said, the other night I got hit. I was actually at a restaurant/bar, and I was just in there visiting someone, having a little bit of food. I don't drink. I just drink water. Whenever I go to any restaurant, I will only get water. Why? Sodas nowadays are $4 or $5 at most places. That is an equivalent to about 33% of your meal, maybe even as high as 50% of your meal. I've gone to some restaurants, gotten a meal, and the meal was only like $11, but the drink was $4.50. I mean, think about that for a minute. Is a soda worth a half of meal? It's not to me. And so I never, ever will drink soda when I'm out. I always drink water when I'm out. I do keep sometimes some sodas in my fridge, even though I'm told I shouldn't be drinking soda at all. So I've pretty much weaned myself off into where I don't even think about them because the price is crazy on them. Now, after I got, so I'm in the restaurant. The truck that hit me, my car was parked, and he had backed out and nailed the side panel of my vehicle. Now, luckily, I was in my work truck. For those of you guys, some of y'all know I picked up a great deal on a car not too long ago. Has good working AC. It's a nice car. It was super cheap. But my truck, it already has some dings in it. It's nothing special. And I got another ding on it. And I talked to the guy. He couldn't even walk straight. And I felt horrible for him because I know that's a big deal. He had told me he had already gotten a DUI in the past. He was a little scared, worried. He was an older man. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, first of all, private property, the police never want to get involved. I said, I'm sure they'll come out today because they know they can get you for a DUI. I'm not a huge fan. I hate to say this because there are law enforcement, I'm sure, that watch the channel. In fact, I know one of them watches the channel because he's told me that what he was doing. And so I told him, I said, you know what, we'll deal with it tomorrow. It's on personal property. That means it's a civil matter. Me and you will deal with it tomorrow. I'll give you a call. He said, sounds good. He said, you want to go in and have a drink with me? And I just laughed. I said, I don't think you need another drink. I said, in fact, how about I give you a ride home? And he said, well, no, I'm fine. I'm fine to drive. I said, dude, you weren't fine to make it out of the parking lot. And so, needless to say, I ended up basically taking him home in his vehicle and got a ride back. After that happened, the next day I talked to him and I told him, here's the deal. I can get it fixed, my vehicle in Mexico, the ding. I can have it banged out. I'm not horribly worried about it. If you want to file the insurance, we can. It's not mandatory. I said, I don't mind if you want to work something out on the side. He said, what will you think? And I said, you know what? If you want to do 400, and he's like, how about 450? I said, that's fine. Because he wanted to give me 5. I said, that's kind of, I'm good. I'm good with 4. And he said 450. So I took the $450, and I just figured I'd bang out the dent. I actually looked online. It said it wasn't illegal in the state that I'm in to take cash, except if there's any issues later, you're SOL. Once you take cash, you accepted an agreement, and that's fine by me. I was pretty comfortable. I hope I'm not saying anything that the person's like, now I know who T-Square is. But needless to say, I talked to him for like a few hours today, or I should say yesterday, at the day after everything happened. And we talked about the prices going up. We talked about how the economy is, how everything is. And, when I tried explaining some of the stuff that we talk about on this channel, he didn't really agree. He didn't understand. He thinks, things are great. He thinks, that, things are all better. The current administration is making everything better. And in a couple years before this administration is out, that everything is going to be fixed, Despite whether or not you like the current administration, I personally do like the current administration that we have. However, with that being said, I don't think there's anything that this current administration can do about the road that the dollar is on. The dollar is taking a hit. Now, today, let's be honest, the dollar looks awesome. When you look at the dollar today, the dollar's sitting at 99.79, almost 100. Now, here's the thing you got to think of. I mentioned in a previous video, as the Fed meeting comes closer, you will see the dollar spike because they need to make it look like there's confidence in the dollar. A lot of us that's been following this channel for a while, we know there's not confidence in the dollar. A lot of countries are moving away from it. When you look at the DXY chart for year to date, what do you see? You see a slow downhill track. And what you always see just before a Fed meeting is a big jump usually. And that's exactly what we've seen if you look at the last 5 days. Look at this. Does that not look like a nice, it's moving higher and higher? As we get closer to the Fed meeting, it moves up. The dollar gets stronger. Silver takes a little bit of a hit. Did we see that happen? We're sitting at $37.11 right now for silver price. To some people, they might look at this chart and be like, well, it looks pretty flat to me. Okay, but let's zoom out 5 days and you really see what's happening. Them artificially manipulating the DXY naturally pushes prices down because the dollar is looking stronger. Now, here's the thing. The dollar might be looking stronger, but we know the dollar's not stronger. It's only stronger compared to other fiat currencies. Other fiat currencies, including the dollar, all fiat currencies are losing value. Now, here's the thing. If you are, I've used the analogy falling out of a plane. Does it matter if I am slowly falling and you are free falling fast? Does it matter if you're falling at some crazy speed and I'm falling at a little bit of a slower speed? It really doesn't matter. All of us are going to hit the ground. We're both going to hit the ground. You're going to hit it first, and I'm going to see the results of what I'm going to look like in a minute. Now, we have the advantage today, no matter what country you're in, to look at what happens when a fiat currency hits the ground. We've seen it with Venezuela. We've seen it with Weimar Germany. We've seen it with Cyprus. We've seen it with Zimbabwe. We've seen it with a lot of different countries. The US dollar is not an exception to the rule. It just happens to be the one falling slower right now. Eventually, all fiat currencies will collapse. The big question is what will happen to you when the fiat currency collapses? Are you going to be prepared for what's coming, because there's going to be a lot of people like this gentleman that I had talked to that just kind of disagrees and thinks, oh, they're going to make everything better. And that's, I believe, what the elites do. The elites, the high ups, they want to sugarcoat it. They don't want you to realize what's happening, because then you get out of the system. You prepare. Well, you preparing makes it harder for them to prepare. It slows down, essentially. It makes it harder for them to prepare. I'll give you an example of this. If, let's say, we knew that something bad was going to happen in 30 days from now, and you would not be able to go to the grocery store and get food for, we'll just hypothetically say for a minute, 3 years. What would people do? Everybody would run to the store and buy out everything they can. Well, what would happen? Prices would go up. Assuming you could even have people there delivering food or whatnot, because the people that work too are going to be frantically trying to get supplies. Everybody's going to be trying to get supplies. But resources are going to get hoarded. Prices are going to go up, and prices are going to go up for the elites. Despite them having plenty of money, they still want to get as much as they can for as little as they can. It's human nature to want more for less, unfortunately. No matter how loving, caring, religious you are, people naturally want more than they need, I guess you can say. And one of the funny things is, when I was talking to the guy, about the 450, I said, yeah, I understand. I can't go and get it done at a professional place fixed. I said, but I don't really care about the dent that much. The truck yesterday, the vehicle, got me from point A to point B. Tomorrow, the vehicle is still going to get me from point A to point B. I don't care about how it looks. I don't care what people think of me. The guy that I'm having remodel my house actually told a friend of mine he didn't know if he wanted to do work for me because he didn't think I could pay. He didn't think I had money to pay. And I kind of found it a mix of insulting and humorous a little bit, because I live a very simple lifestyle. If you've seen me in public, you'd be like, oh my word, dude, that dude's ghetto. And that's okay. I got a dented truck. I don't have AC. I'm pretty simple. I really am, because those things, the showy things in life, are not really important. What is important, you have a roof over your head, you have the food you need, you have the resources to thrive in any situation. And that's why I push to a lot of people that I talk to on a regular basis, hey, maybe you should pick up some gold, maybe you should pick up some silver, maybe you should be prepared. If something bad was ever to happen, what would you do? If you lost your job, would you be able to have something of value? And I get people that leave comments all the time, oh, you can't get you can't get food, you can't eat silver, you can't necessarily, no one's going to want your silver or gold when there's no food out there. That's not true, really, because there's always going to be food out there. There's always going to be, there will always be gold and silver, and yes, food will become more expensive. But if you're a guy that grows tomatoes, let's say, and you can't eat 100 pounds of tomatoes, what are you going to do with them? Someone might be slick and say, oh, I'll can them, I'll preserve them. And yeah, you can do that. Are you going to have all the resources to do that? Are you going to have canning jars? Are you going to have everything you need? You've been growing tomatoes. You didn't know a collapse was coming, and now the tomatoes are ripening. That's it. You got a limited time. You can't eat all those tomatoes. You can't go out and get a deer and use it all overnight. If you don't have salt, you can't preserve it. If you don't know how to preserve it, what do you do with it? You take enough to feed your family for now, and you trade the rest. What do you trade it for? Well, yeah, you'd want to trade it, obviously, if you can get food that will last, or if you can trade it for salt. But here's the thing. There has to be a universal item that everybody will accept. And throughout history, gold and silver has been that universal item. Now, a lot of people don't understand. as everything continues to go up in price, it almost doesn't matter what you have. It's the dollar that's going down. And that's what I tried to tell this gentleman. And, he's like, the dollar, though, it's getting stronger now. I said, based on what? Based on what I heard on the news or what Trump said or whatever. I'll be honest. I like Trump. I know some people will disagree. I'm not saying the guy walks on water. There's some stuff that he's done that I don't like. However, with that being said, he is not going to cause a panic and tell you what's really happening. Jerome Powell is not going to cause a panic and tell you what's really happening. They're going to sugarcoat it for you. Because if they sugarcoat it, it keeps people in the system. It keeps them prepared. As I'm remodeling my house, I have a storage unit full of miscellaneous junk. Some of y'all know I used to have multiple homes. I had 7 houses at my peak. And I've sold a lot of that off. I want to get away from headaches and stress and dealing with essentially people that, I don't have the rent or, whatever. All the different headaches that come with renters. If you've got rental property, you know what I mean. If you don't, it's hard to explain to somebody that. There's stress in everything. I'm just trying to de-stress my life. Well, a lot of stuff that I have in my storage unit is material. And one of the items I had was 25 sheets of hardy board. Some people may know what hardy board is. It's basically a concrete siding that people use. And I needed 11 sheets for something. And I was like, do I really want to pull it out of storage? And I said, it can't be that expensive. I think when I bought it, it was like $25 a sheet. How did I get stuck with 25 sheets? Somebody originally wanted them. And so I made a deal where I needed 25, he needed 25. I was just going to buy 50 and get a group deal. And I did get a good discount, plus on top of that, a military discount. And it worked out great, like $25 a sheet. And he backed out at the last minute. He said, I don't really need them. I changed my mind. You can take them back, And I'm not going to take them back because I negotiated that price. I pressed the store to get it cheaper if I bought 50 of them, and I did, and I was happy with it. But I ended up having to put them in storage. I put them flat, so I knew they'd be fine. And when I went to Lowe's to actually get, Home Depot, to get some hardy board, I was shocked that the price was over $50 a sheet. And as I'm looking around the store at nails, screws, I should say, I realized, oh my word, screws are $100 for a bucket now. I said, this is crazy. Caulking was like $10 a tube. Some of the, what do they call it? Tar, the tar that comes in the, I guess you call it the cylinder that you use the tar gun to pump it. That was like $10 a tube too. Everything was through the roof. I could not believe it. And it really got me thinking, it doesn't matter what you have. Inflation is hitting everything. Every item you buy, gas, food, utilities, rent, housing, miscellaneous, it's all going up. But it can't be. Technology has made it easier for us to get some of this. I asked him, do you think technology has gotten better or worse? He said, worse. I said, what? He said, worse. I think it's ruining people. I said, okay, I agree with that. Technology is ruining people. It's making them lazy. I don't have to know math because I can pull out a calculator. I don't need to know how to spell because I can pull up basically where you hit the little microphone and it automatically types out your whole message for you. I don't need to speak multiple languages. I can just pull it up on my phone. I've literally talked to people in other languages by just pushing a button and say, translate to Spanish. And I'll say what I want to say, and then all of a sudden it spits it out in Spanish for me. And they just listen, they just shake their head yes or no, or I hit a button and they tell me their answer, and then it plays it back in English. So technology has softened us to that aspect, but technology's gotten better. It's gotten cheaper for us to pull oil out of the ground with fracking. It's gotten cheaper for us to pick cotton from people out there picking cotton to machines picking cotton. Therefore, if it's gotten easier to get, it should have gotten cheaper. But that's not the case. It's gotten more expensive. Well, you have to ask yourself why. It's obviously not technology. It's clearly not environmental, because everything has gone up. Well, then it has to only be one thing. What's the common denominator in everything? You're buying it with US dollars. Now, or you're buying it with fiat currency, I should say, because this is not just for a US. This is for everybody. Now, however, here's the other thing you got to think of. What happens if you've been saving in gold? Here's the thing, or silver. I told the guy, I said, a gallon of gas is still a quarter today. I could still go buy a gallon of gas for a quarter. He said, no, you can't. I said, if I've got a silver quarter, I can. He goes, yeah, but do you happen to have a silver quarter? I said, actually, I got some in my vehicle right now. I said, I always keep some with me. Some basic silver coins, just in case. He said, well, most people don't have them. I said, exactly, because they've sucked them up, because they don't want you having anything except for their monopoly money, their gift certificates. And it's all the same. It doesn't really matter if it's fiat dollars, fiat pesos, if it's gift certificates, if it's credit cards, if it's digital crypto coins, if it's stable coins that are back to US dollar. If the US dollar falls, the stable coin falls. It's back to the dollar. And here's the thing, almost everything is backed up to the dollar. Someone asked me the other day, I was making a deal with him, and I told him, I said, look, I'll tell you what, you give me a $50 gift card for your place, and I'll end up, a $50 gift card will buy me, a couple of meals. I said, and I'll give it to you for exactly what I paid. And he's like, I'd rather just give you a couple meals. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll take the couple meals. Now, what is there to take from this? Well, here's what you got to think of. And I tried telling him this, and some people get it and some people don't. I mean, this gentleman that I was talking to that day, he's a good friend of mine. But I wanted him to understand. I said, if you give it to me in dollars, the prices of your food is going up. You're raising the prices. But if you give it to me in a meal, that meal is always going to be a meal. If I use it next week, next month, next year, it's still going to be the same meal. But if you give it to me in dollars, that $50 gift card may not buy 2 meals later. I may have to shell $10 out of my pocket. Maybe the meals will be $30 a piece. Everything is valued right now in fiat currency, fiat, whatever it is. If you're in the U.S., it's fiat dollars. If you're in Mexico, it's pesos. If you're in Canada, it's loons. China, yuan, and so on and so on and so on. So once you realize that everything is going up, you have to see that it's the currency that's going down. And that's why, when I see silver and gold go down, like we've seen it today, I mean, silver down to $37.09. That's a buying opportunity. I was ready to buy today, put in an order for 100 ounces of silver. Why did I not? I changed my mind because I got a deal on gold, and gold took a hit. And when I zoom out on this, you look at this chart right here that pulls up when I say I just want the one-day numbers, it looks like it's gone up today. But that's not accurate exactly, because look at the time this chart starts at. It starts at 1835. Well, that's 6:35 in the evening. So that only just started like 4 hours ago. We started already turning around. Why? It's the end of the month. Look at what really happened. And I wish I had caught this today at around 4 o'clock. Because this is the thing. Gold was as low as $32.70. And all of a sudden, now it's at almost $3,300. It's up $30 essentially in just that short time. Look at the volume. When you see all this red here in the charts, this is huge amounts of contracts that's selling. The amount of contracts that ain't normal people. It's bots. It's huge institutional selling. When you see the red, it's selling, and they're pushing it down and then slowly buying it back up in the physical. And people just don't get it. Same with silver. When you look at silver now, here's the thing. Silver didn't pop as much. Silver went all the way down. Oh, my word. No, it didn't. Did silver go down to... okay, never mind. 36.80. Okay, that's not... 36.80 is not huge. When I look at the price, it's only 30 cents ago. But yeah, it jumped. It fell even more, and then it had a little bit of a pop-up. Now, does that mean the selling is over? We could have a horrible day tomorrow with silver and gold. We could see it come down a little bit more. I don't think it will, but if it does, it's definitely going to be grounds to be looking for deals, making phone calls, trying to put funds together, go to your local coin shop, because gold and silver is money. Taking a quick look at Bitcoin, I always like to say what stuff does that day. Bitcoin is sitting still at 118,413, up $575 or 0.5%. It did good. It's doing a great job holding. The question is, will it hold when the storm really comes in? Or is it just anchored, tied to the dollar, essentially? Taking a quick look at the DXY, we have the DXY at 99.8. Taking a quick look at the U.S. debt clock, we're sitting at 37,170,000,000,000. Taking a look at the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones and the S&P, we had kind of mixed signals today. We got the Dow Jones down 0.5% or 204 points. So it actually pulled back today, and the dollar got stronger. So, hey, stuff's selling off. And maybe this sell-off in the stock market kind of helped force people to sell some of their positions in paper silver. I don't really know that many people that are selling their physical silver. However, opportunities do come up, stuff comes up, and people have to sometimes sell, and I understand that. But I say mixed signals because the NASDAQ jumped today, up 31 points or 0.15%. Not a huge jump, but it went up a little bit. And then the S&P down only 0.12%, down $8 essentially. And the Fed meeting was really interesting how that played out. They actually had mixed votes on should they cut interest rates. There was two of the voters wanted to cut interest rates, whereas everybody else kind of said, well, let's keep them the same. And I'm sure a lot of people listen to Jerome Powell. Whatever Powell says, most people will try to agree. They see the bigger picture, though. Let's be honest. I don't think Jerome Powell is a stupid man. I think he knows what's going on. I think there's a little bit of political influence right now. They're playing a dangerous game, though. They're playing a dangerous game with the U.S. dollar. Why? Because if the U.S. dollar collapses, the world as we know it is going to change, and it's going to change fast. People that are prepped and stacked are going to be okay. People that aren't are going to go crazy. And I think some of the stuff that we've seen in Seattle, some of the stuff that we've seen in New York, California, that's just going to be the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see that all over the country because people will snap. Now, some states are going to be better off. I believe some of these states that actually have been investing in gold and silver, like Texas has their new gold and silver depository. But at the end of the day, how prepared are even these states? When people start going crazy, and tearing stuff down, it really does push us back into a rough position. And I always get asked, well, do you think they'll outlaw gold and silver? I don't think they can because there's not many people that actually have it. And what really, when you think about it, it's no different than someone investing in Bitcoin. You could make the same argument. Will they outlaw Bitcoin? It's probably not likely that you're going to see any kind of. You're just going to have some people invest in the right things and some people invest in the wrong things. They definitely won't allow hoarding. I mean, if things start breaking down, you're not going to be able to go to the grocery store and buy everything you can. It's going to be the same thing we've seen during cough. You go to the grocery store, you only get 4 cans of vegetables or 1 roll of toilet paper or 1 package of toilet paper or, so many spaghettis. How many of y'all remember when cough happened and, we were in the middle of the pandemic and all of a sudden you couldn't get half the stuff you wanted or they were cutting back? People were just trying to trade with people. I actually had one of my neighbors tell me, hey, is there any way I can get some toilet paper? If you have any extra, or if you see any when you're out and about, can you try to stop? I have not been lucky to be able to find any toilet paper. And I said, I'll take you over a case. I'll bring you over a package. Like the package, let's be honest. I mean, now you go to Sam's Club, they come in 48 roll packs. So, I mean, you might as well say it's a case of toilet paper, even though it sounds weird when you say, oh, yeah, I'll give you a case. I mean, it's crazy how but you know what? I save money. When I buy in bulk, you save money. I'd rather buy 48 pack instead of a 4 pack. And I've got extras. I mean, I don't always have to buy, but when I do buy, I stock up. I'm prepared for whatever happens. I want to know, some people are like, dude, you running a restaurant or something? I said, no, but I do get stuff from restaurants. So with that being said, I'm probably going to wrap the video up here. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. I really felt bad yesterday. Let me just check how long it's been. 30 minutes. Nice. Right on par. I really felt bad yesterday for the video that I put up because I kind of felt as I was making the video that I was so exhausted. I was stalling kind of. I was a little just out of it. And so that's why I named it yesterday, Not My Best Video. I really think this is one of my better videos today that we put up. So I really hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all hit that thumbs up button. Share this video. It gets hard sometimes to do videos every day, especially with what's going on right now. Working physical work 12 hours a day is really exhausting. I mean, I ended up having to haul wood one day, cutting down trees, trimming stuff up, hauling brush, all the different things that I've been doing. It's just exhausting. And, it takes a lot of work, but I really want people to know what's going on, and I want to help as best I can. It's not financial advice, just my opinion on what's going on. And, people can see it. People see what's going on. And so I want people to understand more about why it's happening so they can prepare. And I really hope you all enjoyed this video. It means a lot to me that you guys do. You guys literally are my second family, especially now that my primary family is pretty much all either gone, left, moved on, college, all the different things. So, hey, you guys are almost my primary family. So with that being said, I thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that thumbs up, share the video with friends, share it on Facebook. Maybe we'll grow the channel a little bit more, and this video will just do really well. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Thursday, it's almost the end of the week. One more day after today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.